Good morning. Good morning. I am Toni from the Fiberology Lab, and I am back. This is our daily coffee chat. I've been doing it for a couple weeks, just trying to see how I can be giving you information every day, and just kind of keep me a little more accountable too. I'm back from market. I missed my weekly lab report, but I am going to do a quilt market review for everybody on Wednesday afternoon. So come on in, settle in, say hi and where you're from. We are talking about quilting basics in our coffee chat. Today we're going to talk about ironing or pressing. Excuse me. I'm all over the place. If you can imagine, I've been gone for I left Thursday and I've been gone for 5 days. So I'm trying to get back into a routine, and it's November 1st. It's officially Christmas season, I guess, but I'm not going to do it until after Thanksgiving. Nope. I'm not doing anything Christmas until after Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday next to my birthday. I like my birthday too. So I just wanted to touch base on what's happened over the last 5 days. The last 5 days, I got to spend time with some really great friends. We were really silly and goofy, and we just had a good time. And then we got to see some new vendors, and we got to see some new things. And like I said, my quilt market review will be part of our weekly lab report, but it's going to be tomorrow. And while I was gone, I got some new things in that I will do during my live show this week. Live shows are returning again to Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Central Time Zone. So watch this week on Thursday at 8 p.m. And I'm going to show you some new things that we have in the shop. I will do it in our Comment Sold app. So it'll be in the app, on Facebook, on Instagram, on wherever I can get it. So you should be able to find it no matter where you are. It doesn't do YouTube yet. I think that's one of those future upgrades that Comet Sold is working on. Good morning, Miss Linda. Good to see you. So yesterday I just kind of took the day off. I was up really early and ended up taking a nap, and then ended up going to bed. And I feel very refreshed. Hopefully you don't see any baggies under my eyeballs. So what do I was going to tease. So like I said, I'm going to do a weekly review with my quilt market review and how it applies to us here at the Fiberology Lab tomorrow. And I'll send out an email tomorrow morning as well. That our weekly email normally goes out on Mondays. Well, this week will go on Wednesday since I'm a few days behind catching up. But I have to show you some new fabric we have coming in. Can you guys see that? You're thinking, well, Toni, that's not quite your style. You're quite right. I love it though. It's bright. It's fun. It's a blender line from Poppy Cotton. I got to meet the company owners and designers. It was a lot of fun. So I'll be talking about that tomorrow. And the other cool thing that came in, I'm so excited about these, are these really cool seam rippers and stilettos. Now this one I own. This is mine. And I love it so much. I wanted a second one because I love it so much. And I normally have this one either in my office or in my other bag. So I need one in different places. So this is my new one. So I'll talk about those. Actually, I'll show you these Thursday night. I've got about 15 of them to show in different colors and different textures. So it'll be a lot of fun. So let's dive back into quilting basics. Don't forget to make sure you get our email or follow us on Facebook or in our Mighty Networks to get all the information. Now, what I've done in this online class is created PDFs for every session so far, and I'm uploading them into our Mighty Networks. And I've redone them. I'm really excited. I'm going to actually update the ones I have there because I've kind of made them really looking pretty for you to print out and use. And I've added fabric requirements as well on one of them. So if you are already in the Mighty Networks under the Coffee Chat Quilting Basics, you will see all those being uploaded and updated today. But today we are talking about accuracy process number 1. So if you've been following along, I teach accuracy processes, not perfection. which means you are allowed to mess up and make sure and sometimes points don't make points and sometimes seams don't match. That's okay. But if you follow along with some of my accurate processes, you're going to find those are going to be lessened, and you'll be more happy with your ending project. So the first thing as we start getting ready to move into cutting and sewing, first thing is pressing. We are going to learn how to press accurately. Well, not learn how to, but you need to make sure you're doing these things I'm going to talk about this morning about pressing. So what I did with this is actually, I have a lot of questions on this subject. It's really funny. And I kind of put them all in this PDF, and I'm just going to read them out to you. So in case you don't get the PDF, you can still get the information. Over and over and over, I get asked, hey there, Christine, good morning to you. Over and over, I get asked, what's the best iron? It's whatever iron you have. That's not true either. But I'll be honest, I don't want to discourage you from getting products that I don't use, but I don't own a Rowenta. I personally do not enjoy them. So what I do own is a reliable iron. I used to sell them in the store, and because now they're so big and bulky, I'll have a link at the bottom of this video, and it's on the PDF as well for you to see the iron that I own. It is a ceramic surface iron, which I like. It does not have a temperature. So it's just only set at one temperature, and it steams constantly. Or you can turn it off. What you can do it is constant or off, and I like that because it's pointy, it's easy to clean, it gets hot fast. It gets hot fast, and I don't have to worry about it scorching or getting too hot. So I enjoy that iron. That one, like I said, I'll put all these links in the description of the video, or you can find them on the PDF. The other iron I have, which I actually have here, oh, it's plugged in. I wasn't even thinking about that, is the Panasonic iron. Mine is purple. You cannot find the purple anymore, but they have in turquoise and they have it in black. And again, I have a link for that. So the links are affiliated, my affiliation with Amazon, because I don't want to carry them. But if you just so you know that I will make a little bit, little bit of money when you buy it through my links. But this one's really cool. I use it for traveling, and I use it here in the office. Now it does have two pointed ends. Can you guys see that? Which are great for trying to get to corners and stuff. But guess what? I'm a habit. Which I catch myself all the time trying to put it on its butt. You can't do that because it will fall off the table. So just keep that in mind. And yes, it's happened. What's really cool is it has a base that this sits in, and that base charges a battery on here, so it keeps the plate hot. So it's not like heating up the plate, but it's actually heating up a battery in here that keeps the plate hot. Now, it doesn't keep it hot very long, so I would say maybe 5 minutes of ironing. You might want to go ahead and put it back on the charger for a few minutes, but it doesn't take long to charge either. So I really like this iron a lot. I really like it a lot. You can see it's got a couple different settings on there. You got your steam, and then the water pulls right out, and you fill it up. It's kind of cool. It looks like an old-fashioned cast iron. Isn't that kind of fun? So this is my traveling iron, and then I do have a smaller one. I have a Alciol mini iron that I also use for traveling. So I have 3 irons. Those are 3 irons I use a lot. I will tell you, you will replace your iron when you start doing quilting a lot, probably every couple of years, 2 to 3 years. And it's not because it's disposable. Well, I guess it technically is. They should be able to make good irons that last. But because of the heat, it's like a curling iron or a blow dryer. They're only good for about 2 or 3 years because of the heat being used all the time and the electronics in there. Just keep that in mind. But I will say with the products I just mentioned, I've had that particular iron because I use it only for traveling for the most part, for probably over, I have to think about it now. I think I've had it over 10 years. Now my reliable, I've had almost 4 years. So just things to keep in mind. Now the reliable has a higher price point, and that one's about the same price point, to be honest with you. So things to keep in mind when you are looking for a new iron. The reliable, because it's a ceramic base, it's easy. It's like almost a non-stick surface. That one's not, so I have to clean it every once in a while. Hey there, Jessica. Good to see you this morning. Yeah, I love the mini LCL but the catch with that, it doesn't turn off and it gets stinking hot. So I have to be very conscientious of those features in the LCL when I use it when I travel. I used it in a retreat, but we have I'm going to talk about wool mats here in a minute. The wool mat on my table with the LCL, it got to the plastic on the table. So got to remember to turn it off when I can. So those are my irons. And like I said, this is all in my PDF with a link if you are interested in upgrading your iron that I use. But again, if you are on a budget, which most of us are, I had my other favorite one just to buy at the store for 40 or 50 bucks, which I tend to replace often. I haven't had to because these irons have been great for me. So think about how you invest in your stuff. Is a Tefal iron or a Panasonic iron, but I do like a non-stick surface for cleaning it easier. I don't like stainless steel. I like the non-stick or ceramic bottom. Oh, yes, Jessica. But if you're paying $10 for an iron, just remember it's not going to get as hot as you would like. So I recommend a $30 to $50 price range iron, and Black & Decker has one that's really good too. So $10 tells me it's not going to get hot enough unless you got it at a used secondhand store or something. And even then, I wouldn't buy a secondhand iron because you just don't know if the circuitry is going to die at any minute. So just things to think about. The Ventas tend to leak. That's what they used to. I don't know. I haven't had one in over 10 years. So that's my feedback on that. So we've got a good iron now. I understand that we need a good iron that heats up well, that uses steam, and you can clean it well. So those are the 3 probably tips I would recommend. If your iron's not doing any of those, you might want to consider getting a new one. And I also recommend get a separate iron for clothing. If you're one of those people that still irons their t-shirts, or you're ironing your husband's shirts or pants, get another iron for that and put it in a different room. You don't want it in your quilting stuff. That way you know the stuff that you're using on that iron won't get into your quilting fabric or projects. Right, ironing surfaces and tools. So now this, I don't know if I can show this. I have a wool mat here. I left a lot of, again, just got back from a 5-day trip, and I left a lot of things I was going to show and tell today. But again, I have all the links for these products in our PDF that you'll find in the Mighty Networks here in a little bit. I use a wool mat here. I don't have an ironing board surface here. Because it holds the heat and reflects the heat back up to the bottom side of whatever you're pressing. So a couple things when you use a wool mat, make sure you are turning your iron down a notch, because if you have it on high, like the cotton or the linen setting, it will actually overheat the mat and you can burn and scorch your fabric. The other thing is I've noticed people are afraid to use starch products on the mat. Totally can. Just remember, don't go crazy heavy, but totally can use a starch product on the wool mats because they are washable. The mat I have linked into our PDF is the one I personally own. I can't order, that's the other thing I should say. I can't order all these products if you would like me to. And if you prepay, I give you 15% off. So just something to feel, if you're like, I don't do Amazon, I can do that. All you got to do is email me at info@fiberologylab.com. But the wool mat is washable. People don't realize that. And this particular mat that I love the best, and I've had a couple different brands, it is made completely out of wool. Some of them are mixed. And even though they say 100%, it might be felt they're using and not wool. This is 100% wool. And because of that, you can wash it out. And there's directions on it in the paper that comes with your wool mat. That's why I like them. This one, the mat I use is Precision Tools mats, and they've got other tools that I love too. So I use one side of the mat for starch product and the other for not starch product. Well, that's a good way to do it, Christine. So, but just so you know, you can wash both sides. It's like scissors. You should have fabric scissors and a fabric iron. That's a good point, Christine. Correct. I agree with that as well. Just as, have you heard of wool mat? Smell is what. It can if you don't let it dry right. So that's one of the directions it tells you in the directions. I should have brought the directions so I could read them to you. Basically, and you don't use soapy water. You just use a light you just kind of wash it out, but you got to let it air dry. And I would put it outside and let it air dry really well. Obviously, you're not going to, you probably could stick it in a dryer, but it would probably become ripply. So, but you really want to dry completely out before you start using it again. So I'll have to bring the directions in and kind of talk about that, Jessica. But no, mine does not smell like a wet dog or a wet lamb. How's that? Okay. Hey there, Phil. Good morning to you. Good to see you. We're just talking about pressing and all the process we need for that. Right now we're going through tools. So I like a wool mat. Now I do have an ironing board at home and I like a nice cover. I've had several different covers. I just got the all seal one. And what it does, it's got an added felt padding in it where it again reflects the heat back to the underside of whatever you're ironing. I've had a couple different mats that do that, but I like this one because it was turquoise. It was $24 or something. So that link will also be in the video after I'm done. Other thing you might need for the right surface and tools is an applique mat. Again, Precision Tools has another one out there. They call it the fusible fusing mat. It includes non-slip matte see-through design. And again, when you're doing applique processes, you don't want that glue on your iron or your ironing surface. So you want to make sure you have an applique sheet or Teflon sheet. Parchment paper works, but I do like the precision mat that I'm gonna have to bring those in tomorrow so I can show you them. So those are the ironing. You got your irons, you got your ironing board, ironing surfaces. So I'm going to go down through some other questions before I get to the real one that we really need to learn: to wash or not to wash. So anything I share is my preference. It's my personal preference. It is not the end all be all. You got to do what works for you. You've got to try things and see what you're comfortable with. Now people are going to say, oh no, you got to do it this way. I don't work that way. You got to do what works for you. Now, and as you're learning and as you're doing things, you're going to find that process out. And this is one of those sticky things that people say, it's like when we talk about pressing things open or not open. I'll talk about that in another session. But pre-wash or not pre-wash. I do not wash a thing. I don't. One of the reasons I don't, one of the big reasons, besides that I'm lazy, one of the big reasons is because the fabric companies put a stabilizing product on the fabric so it's flat and lays flat when it's on the bolts. So I like that, especially if I'm going to cut triangles or work a lot of small piecing. It's already kind of stabilized, and I still stabilize on top of it, and I'll talk about that in a minute. When you pre-wash, there's nothing wrong with that. You can pre-wash it, but you're going to have to use more. You're going to have to press more. Excuse me, and you're going to have to put more stabilizing product on it so it has a crisp, and it's not going to stretch and pull on you when you're working in it. So that's the pros and cons. You can decide if you've been sewing for a long time and you've always pre-washed, that's fine. I don't. So that's me. If you don't pre-wash, we need to prepare the fabric though. You're gonna have to do this anyway after you wash it because it's like naked now. It's wrinkly and naked. So you want to use steam for an not washed fabric, so it shrinks the fabric. Because the fabric has, and while it's been shrunk by the fabric companies, it's still going to shrink a little bit more. You want to make sure you use steam in your iron along with your best press starch light product, flatter, whatever you use, because it'll help stabilize it and shrink it at the same time. It's multitasking. So stabilizing fabric, this is part of the accuracy process. So we've talked about the tools, and the tools can be anything you want. But once we get to this point, this is where the accuracy process comes in. So remember, this is the first point of being accurate. And it's not going to be perfect, and we're going to just go through the accuracy of doing things that we have a nice finished project. So the first thing is we got to prep our fabric. So we need to use steam in the iron, and we need to use a starch-like product. Can you use starch? You can use magic sizing. You can use best press. You can use flatter, whatever you would like to use. What I like to use is flatter. The reason I use flatter is because Best Press has something in it that gets me congested really fast. So I must have allergic reaction to it. And even if there's no scent, so I use flatter. I carry flatter in the store. You can't find it in the shop. But if you want the other products, again, you can go to the links below because I will have those affiliated links. Now, if you have magic sizing and things like that, you totally can use it. But use what you got. You're learning the process, use what you got. But if you would like to upscale your process, use the things I recommend. The reason why I don't like starch or magic sizing, it flakes. It builds up in your iron. And when you hit that steam button one time, all that brown stuff comes out, but you should be cleaning out your iron, just so you know. Then that's from using those products. That's why I said a fabric iron, an iron for your fabric, and an iron for the clothes. Keep them separate because you want those things for when you're ironing shirts and pants and whatever. Put that on the other iron. So I use flatter. You're going to need it, and you're going to use steam. And when we're stabilizing the fabric, we're also shrinking it at the same time. When I iron on the wrong side of the fabric. I have felt that it takes the creases out a lot easier. That center crease that you get at the fold from the bolts, you're probably still going to see that. You can totally get it wet and still see it. So don't worry about it, but we want it to be crisp. So we're going to press, not iron. Ironing, I think of pushing it and, scraping that iron to get that to like flat. We don't want to do that with cotton. Cotton stretches and gets distorted. So we kind of, what I like to say is glide. So I press it and lift and press, and then I'll glide the iron over. I don't put pressure on the iron. This is why these irons I own that I recommend are weighted. I do not like a light iron because a light iron means I have to put weight on it and put pressure on it. One, it hurts my wrist and my elbow. And two, it's more likely going to stretch your fabric. So you get an iron that's heavy, like the Black & Decker iron, that's really heavy. The Reliable I have is heavy. The Panasonic is heavy, especially when you put water in them too. That makes them heavy fast. But then you're just ironing and gliding that iron. You're not putting pressure on the fabric as you are ironing. Christine says, keep the fabric treated is a key for me. That is why I always prep my fabric. And no quilting. There's no quilting police. Nope. I'm a rebel, just so you know. Thanks, Christine, for your feedback. The other thing I do is I use a misting bottle. Now, again, if you are regular, you know this. This is something I do. I talk about a lot. The reason I always put my product in a misting bottle is because it spreads further out and a little more evenly. If you use a regular pump spray, it drips and it spews out so much product. Now, if you have something that you know you're going to be doing tons of tiny little triangles and you really want to saturate your fabric, then that's what I would use. But most of the time, especially if you're not pre-washing, you don't need all that extra stuff. So just stick in the mister, have it spread out evenly. Not saying it won't drip every once in a while. Most of the time it won't. But it'll also makes your product go a little longer. That's the other thing to keep in mind. So that's what I use, a misting bottle. I was going to say something else and it just went through my brain, but we're going to go with that. We're going to go with that. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I don't ever, after I spray and prep my fabric, I rarely ever come back and respray starch. So once you did it the first time, you don't need it again. Unless you're at a point where the block is not fitting and you're trying to stretch it and make it lay flat, that's when I iron and press to make sure my block is the right size. But that's a rarity because if you're doing these accurate processes as I'm teaching them, you won't have to stress about, oh, it's being skewed or not fitting right. So something to keep in mind as well. So I only press with my starch light product one time, and that's when I'm preparing my fabric before we cut. We're doing all this before we cut. We haven't even cut. So we are just getting that fabric ready, stabilized, got the wrinkles out, and we are going to cut later on. So, what else did I have to say here? All right. I think that was pretty much my tips, my tricks. That's what I talk about. People have asked questions about. Do you guys have any other questions that might be related to ironing, and how it's working for you and not working for you. Now, as we go through making the blocks of the quilt, I will show you how I press. And like, I'll talk about pressing open and pressing this side. They have, the advantages of both, because I do both. I love that. I do both. But right now I'm just talking the bases. Right now we're just prepping the fabric. Has nothing to do with seams right now. So I missed the beginning. Any news on 12 days of giving? Oh, I haven't talked about that because that'll be in tomorrow's weekly lab report. Jessica, but I really appreciate it. We're going to move the 12 days of giving to Black Friday weekend. We're going to kick it off Black Friday weekend, ending it up that way. I don't want to conflict because one of my good friends, Jen, from the Little House of Stitches in Miamisburg is doing hers this week, so I encourage you to check out what she's got. But I'm going to kick it off Black Friday with it. I did wear my Project Linus shirt today because I'm thinking about that. So thanks, Jessica, for that shout out. Tomorrow I'll do my weekly lab report in the afternoon, about 2 o'clock. I like Wednesdays at 2. I don't know why. It's just convenient. So I'll do my weekly lab report tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern. And I'm going to go over the stuff from Quilt Market that I want to share with you, and then talk about what's coming up this month in November. It's actually going to be like a monthly lab report. It's going to be a really encompassing thing. But today is coffee chat, and we're talking about quilting basics, and I was wanting to talk about ironing, which is number one, the first part of our accuracy. So my parts of accuracy, besides speaking, is pressing, cutting, and your seam allowance. Those are the 3 most important things in my book that'll help you have a really nice finished project. Okay, thanks, Christine. Get back to work. I won't tell if you won't tell. So, but if you have any questions as we're going through this series, just ask them in the forum that we have in our Mighty Networks under Coffee Chats, because that way, if you have a question, somebody else probably has a question. And I am going to go and update all those PDFs and add some new ones for today's session. But if you have any other questions, always email me at info@fibrologylab.com. So that's our coffee chat for this morning, this Tuesday morning, first day after getting back from traveling from Quilt Market. I have a lot to share. I can't wait to share everything tomorrow afternoon. Well, not everything. I got to keep some things making you come back, right? You guys have a great Tuesday. It is beautiful here in Northeast Florida. I think I need to go see the ocean, which I haven't seen since I've been back. Might go do that here shortly. So you guys have a great one, and just reach out. And remember, we're friends, fibers, and fun.